Primary ignition.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to VCN Transmissions. This is the first episode with a new name, so bear with us. My name is Colin.
I'm Brooke.
And we're here with a special guest from all the way from Countdown City Geeks. What's your name, sir?
Ted, a.k.a. Steady.
Hey, and we are here to talk about Maul Shadow Lord. Going to make this very clear, very, very, very clear early on. I cannot say this enough. I'm probably going to say this so many times. Spoilers. Spoilers, 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 spoilers. I will keep saying it for a while so that no one can come at us and say, hey, you spoiled the show for me. Spoilers. If you have not seen episode 1 and 2 of Maul Shadow Lord, go watch it.
Come back. People
are busy. We get it. These episodes are dropping at 3 a.m. I was crazy, and I watched it at 3 a.m. So, yeah, it's great. We love it. So, spoilers. And I'm going to have, during a live stream, I'm going to have this in this banner at the bottom that says spoilers. So you cannot come at me or anyone saying that we spoiled something for you. If you watch it, you are watching this at your own risk. Okay, sorry for the announcement there, but I just had to make sure. And we're doing this every week around this time, and we will be announcing the winner for our giveaway. I think we should actually announce that now, right off the bat.
I'm sure they're all waiting. So
yes. And then also we will announce it on Instagram as well. We are doing a 5-week giveaway for Maul Shadow Lord. What does that mean exactly? Well, we have 5 giveaways that are intertwined that are related to Maul Shadow Lord. So that means Black Series action figures and Funko Pops, and then 2 mystery prizes, which are big collector items. We will reveal that soon once we get closer. But if you want to participate, go to our Instagram over at VCN Transmissions, and you have to follow VCN Transmissions, the official Virtual Cantina Instagram account, and also my account, Blue Harvest, no E in the vest. But yeah, so go follow that. But the winner for this week is, drum roll, virtual drum roll. There you go. It is Totally Tim Weber. If you are Totally Tim Weber, send us a message. And then for some reason, if you do not respond to us in 24 hours, we will pick a new winner. But every week we will be doing a new giveaway. So next week is the Darth Maul Black Series figure. This week was Devin Black Series figure, and then the week after that is 2 Funko Pops, 2 prizes in one. Go check that out, and then the next ones are mystery prizes. Okay, let me put the spoilers back up. There you go. Okay, so now with that being said, let's dive into this. Some people had the opportunity to go see this early over at Lucasfilm, and the reviews came in early. Most of them were saying it was related to there was a strong resemblance to Andor of the vibe to it and the show. I posted my review last night, and Ted and Brooke, I both want to hear your opinions about this. I think that this, like, the vibe of the show is similar to Andor, but only by a small percentage. I think the show stands on its own. I don't think that it's got a big Andor presence. I think this is like a show on its own, and you can tell that Sam Witwer, the entire Lucasfilm team, Skywalker Sound, all the Kiners who were doing the music, everyone worked their butts off on this, and they put their passion for Star Wars into every second that they did this. And And I just think it is a completely different vibe than what Andor was. What are your thoughts on that? Ted, go ahead.
I do see the resemblance to Andor, but I don't know if I should reveal this so soon. This actually was inspired heavily by a major comic book movie,
Mm-hmm.
and it's almost too on the nose. And I want to kind of just sprinkle it over this conversation and not give it all away in the beginning. But there is a major comic book movie that inspired this, at least the first episode, if not the rest of the series, and we'll probably see more references throughout. So if you read about the producers and the showrunners, they wanted to really hit on the noir tonal aspect of for this series. They wanted to really dive into that, lean into it, and so they took references from some of my all-time favorite movies. One in particular heavily influenced the first episode, and so I'll talk about that a little bit later on. But the fact that they went and they referenced some of my like movies that are in my top 10 leads me to believe they made this show for me. They didn't have
I
they could
have
have
no doubt that they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they seriously they name dropped some of my all-time favorite movies. They name dropped my all-time number one favorite movie. And so the fact that they're trying to lean into that tonal shift for this project, it's just I couldn't have asked for kind of a better start, and it makes me even more excited for the rest of the show.
What was the Ghostbusters reference? I assume that's your number one movie that you were talking about, right? Or
No. And so
Oh,
I'm willing to reveal this. This is not a secret. This has been
okay.
in a few interviews that they've done, but the showrunners they reference kind of two movies in particular. I'll reveal one now and one later on. The
Okay.
first one they referenced was Heat. This is the
Oh, okay.
90s
Yes.
noir epic film.
Okay.
Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, one
Yep.
of the greatest movies of all time. My all-time favorite movie. I fell in love with movies because of Heat.
Okay.
And the fact that they referenced that movie, specifically, I think it's regarding the action sequences. Heat was a very gritty, raw, a sort of immersive experience when you're watching those action scenes, and so you feel that when you're watching some of these sequences in these first two episodes, and I love it. Whenever showrunner or film creator references Heat in their movies. The Russo brothers famously did it for Captain America, The Winter Soldier. Like you're heading down the right path when you're inspired by that film and you're working on something. So yeah, Heat's the first one. I'll talk about the next movie later on in our conversation.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think I know what the second film is, but yeah, absolutely right. We'll definitely talk about once we get deeper because there is a lot to explore in these episodes. Brooke, go ahead.
I really didn't think Andor at all while I was watching these few episodes. If the comparison is that it's like a little bit grittier,
Yeah.
I guess, but like at no point was I watching this and thinking, like Andor connections, maybe I was doing it wrong.
Well,
but I didn't.
I think people meant more of like the vibe of the show.
Yeah.
No,
No,
that
like,
was the
at
main
no point
like.
did I really like feel like there was I don't know.
Yeah.
To me, that it feels like a very separate thing. Like again, like
Yes.
I can see that it is going to be a little bit grittier of a show. So if that's what people are saying, like I guess like that I can understand. But otherwise, it's to me feeling like its own kind of vibe right now.
Yeah.
But maybe maybe as time goes on, maybe that'll change. I guess we'll have to see. It's always so hard for me when there's only like one or two episodes out for people to be like, what do you think of the show? And I'm like, I don't know. There's only two episodes out. I'm really liking what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
But like I like to reserve my thoughts for the end.
Absolutely. I really, really, really love this show. And I'm so glad that they got renewed for a second season. Way before they even actually released of this first season. So I love that. And again, I think the entire team behind the show are huge fans. Dave Filoni even stated that he was looking to do more with this character because he felt there was untold chapters in Maul's story that he wanted to explore more. And also a statement was made by him saying that he wanted to bring to life of what George Lucas wanted to do with the character in his sequel trilogy of what he had in mind. So I think we're going to see similar storylines of what George had planned. And I think that's super, super exciting. We have a listener here, AJ Hansen, sup dude. They said they really did a solid job with these first 2 episodes and building the plot while also giving some great action. It was so well balanced, which honestly surprised me. Sam Witwer is a diehard fan from the very beginning. You've heard him do stories of when he was doing Starkiller for Force Unleashed, of where he was in the audition process and they were asking him to meditate as a Jedi, but Sam Witwer was like, well, the character that you have presented in front of me, he is not a Jedi. He's just a Force wielder. He doesn't know how to meditate. So like he kind of corrected them in a way. And then there was a time of where they were filming the Mortis arc, and then he was playing the brother, and they talked about how Shmi met Padme, and he corrected Dave Filoni. So Sam Witwer is a diehard fan, and he really loves this universe, and I feel like he has he feels like he has a big responsibility of playing this character and leading where his story ends up going. So I was not surprised of what was going on with Maul, but and of just the portrayal of him and just the plot of the show. I think this is something that a lot of diehard fans have been expecting for a long time. And I know some people were thinking that the show was going to be overhyped or anything. I don't think it's overhyped. I think it is the perfect amount of hyped. I don't think it's hyped up enough. And Rotten Tomatoes actually just gave these first 2 episodes 100%.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if you guys saw that, but 100% for the show, which is absolutely incredible. It makes me so happy. So
I'd say they're deserving.
yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
They were some incredible episodes. Definitely got me hype.
Yeah.
I mean, I was already like really excited.
Yeah.
But now actually seeing like what we're getting, I'm like, yes, this is what I wanted.
Yeah, 100%. So let's dive straight into it. So we start off the episode just going into the planet of Janix and the city, and I think this is what Ted was maybe going to talk about, but it's very reminiscent of Blade Runner. No, that's not the okay.
I mean, you're not wrong that Blade Runner also kind of fits into that noir tone. I'll go ahead and do it now. This entire first sequence, this whole first scene, I'm sitting there thinking, oh, they're doing a bank heist. The bank is owned, or at least they're stealing from crime bosses, like criminal organizations, and the villain, the main antagonist, gets revealed at the end of the sequence. This is the entire opening scene of The Dark Knight. Christian Bale, Heath Ledger, the Joker. Yep. Am I sitting here telling you they stole it? No, I'm not saying that. I'm letting you know that the showrunners, when they were looking for inspiration, they wanted this pulpy noir sort of tone of the entire series. And so there are some elements of The Dark Knight that they purposefully kind of pulled into this series. It kind of fits in with Maul's history, right? Because he ran the crime syndicate, the Shadow Collective, and now it kind of fits in well with kind of what they want to do by having these crime organizations go against one another, and he takes revenge on all of them. There's also, we'll talk about it later in the show, later in the conversation, there's an entire tunnel chase sequence, which is also extremely reminiscent of The Dark Knight, because the Joker's running a semi truck and he's shooting at GCPD in this while they're transporting Harvey Dent. Meanwhile, Maul's thugs are like using like a Gatling gun out of the back of their vehicle, which is just ramming through vehicles on the side of the road. This is all very reminiscent of The Dark Knight. The showrunners have talked about it. That's one of their inspirations for this series. And also, in case you weren't exactly sure if they were pulling inspiration, The Dark Knight, what's the title of episode 1? The Dark Revenge.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, dude,
Wow.
you 100% nailed that. And even in that second episode of exactly what you said, of where he jumps in front of the vehicles during the chase and all that stuff is very reminiscent of The Dark Knight. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I think when you're trying to, like I said, mimic, trying to sort of create those same experiences for the audience, and you're using those type of elements, I think you're doing it the right way, and it's almost like you can't miss if you're aiming that high. There's
Yeah.
no way you can't miss. So they're doing it right. Plus, it also feels like almost a police procedural with how much screen time they're giving to the detective. I forget his name, Lawson.
Yes.
With how much time they give to Lawson, who Wagner Mora is like one of my favorite actors right now. I'm so happy he's in Star Wars universe. It feels like a police procedural. So he's basically the Commissioner Gordon of this show. They want Maul to be a villain, but they don't want him to be hated by the audience. And so that's what they're trying to do. Heath Ledger's Joker was the best part of that movie. We all love that movie because of Heath Ledger's Joker, because he's so charismatic. You can have fun with a villain if he's charismatic or he's just oozing aura. And so he's the entertainment factor for us. Instead of like filling it with comedy and fun and jokiness and stuff. No, you just make your villain that charismatic and that entertaining. The fans are just gonna fall in love with him.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I think the other thing too, with the different elements from other inspirations of film, um, David W. Collins steals the show as Spybot. I love that character. I'm waiting for the Black Series figure. There's also a droid and another one called Two Boots, which he is also fantastic as well. So yeah, loving it. Someone said, hello, all. Nice shirt, Colin. Thank you. Thank you. This is from Roosevelt's. We love Roosevelt's. But yeah, so
yeah, going back to Spybot, that's
Yeah.
its name. Okay. You don't do this, but I like to watch things with subtitles sometimes.
Yeah.
And so I happen to have them on when watching this, and you should turn them on because, like, I don't know if you can catch some of the stuff that droid is saying, but they were making me laugh. They were funny. The little quips.
yeah,
Like,
you could tell he was having a lot of fun, and I think there was a lot of I think there was a lot of improv in that role of just, and I would love to hear the outtakes of just the different lines that he's probably just saying the truth of being like, okay, I'm going to try this, try this in this scene. So yeah, I'm excited to see more of Spybot. I think that's going to be super, super cool. But yeah, so after the everything leading up to the end of the bank heist, we have Maul. He pops up and he turns on his lightsaber. Now, I was just thinking about this. So at the end of the Clone Wars, he doesn't have the Darksaber at this point, because he loses it when he's up on the when he's fighting Ahsoka. So somewhere the Darksaber is somewhere at this point, but we know in Rebels he does retrieve it. My curiosity is, why doesn't he have it here? Like, why is he not using it? But it looks like
it's just not his style.
Yeah, and his other lightsaber that he has now too. Did you notice that the blade looks? It doesn't look as it normally would.
Is it kind of like crackly, like Kylo's?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought like when we got like some of the first images in like videos, I thought that's what it looked like, but I was like, is it, or is it just kind of like in motion, you know? But after watching this again, I had the same thought, and so okay, I'm glad I'm not crazy, and you just confirmed that it is a little wonky.
Yeah. Yeah.
The producers of Maul, they actually said they went back old school and did some really cool painting brushstroke techniques with the lightsaber because they wanted to give it a different look. So if it looks very different, it's because parts of the lightsaber are actually like hand drawn and painted on top of everything else. So that's pretty fascinating.
Yeah. And also, as soon as we see Maul 2, we actually hear the Duel of Fates theme. So good. I love that. So Kevin Kiner, who has been doing the theme of just animation for a while, right? So he did the soundtrack for the Clone Wars. He did it for Star Wars Rebels, and then he actually did it for the entire show of Ahsoka. And he also worked on the Bad Batch, and I just love that his family is doing it now, and it's just remarkable. They are fantastic. Their music is great, and I love the reminiscent of things we've heard before. But also, I believe at the end of the first episode of this, there's like this kind of lingering theme that they have that just kind of screams 90s to me. I don't know why. But yeah, no, they absolutely crush the soundtrack. And when you have a team that really works on the music, when they really work on the sound, that helps immerse you even more besides the cast and the plot of the show. Without those things, I feel like a project like this wouldn't be as good. So huge shout out to Skywalker Sound and just everyone at Lucasfilm for absolutely crushing it and just immersing everyone right away. But we also meet some of the team that Maul has. We have a couple of Mandalorians, including a returning character. Her name is Brooke, and she is rumored to be the armorer from the Mandalorian. I don't think that's the case. I think maybe that character might show up this season, just because if you watch the Mandalorian and you know who the armorer is, she's got horns on her helmet, and most Maul supporters did that with their helmets. So to me, it would make sense that the armorer was a Maul supporter, and not only that, that she would show up at some point in the show. Maybe she was at the Siege of Mandalore in the Clone Wars, and we just didn't get an exact pinpoint of who she exactly was, because this character is getting a lot of screen time. I think that's why people are assuming it is the armorer. But the other cool thing about this character is that she's voiced by Vanessa Marshall, who has done a bunch of different Star Wars voices, mainly known for Hera, but I love that she puts different definition on each character that she does, and you can tell with this, and she just does a phenomenal job. Fun fact, some people don't know this, but she's actually on Smuggler's Run over at Galaxy's Edge. She is the voice that you hear when you get off the Falcon, and her line changes depending on how you did on your flight. So I love Vanessa Marshall. She is a absolutely talented actress. So I can't wait to see more of her and hear her voice more in this season. So yeah. Then we cut to the two Jedi. How do we feel about these characters? Because I feel like I feel like Devin is in a whole different level than what her master is, where like she's very cynical about the whole thing. Obviously, you know, she's like, you know, hey, we're starving, like they're not gonna miss a couple of these little things. And her master, did they say what his name was?
Master Iko Diodaki.
Okay, I'm gonna have to see that one written out.
I've only said it once, and I thought her so.
He's like, no, and she's just like, bruh.
Yeah.
Like that's the vibe I got. I got bruh. Like
Oh. It sounds like he is a very traditional
and like that makes sense because he was
Jedi
probably
Master,
he was fully raised in that, right? Whereas she was probably not.
Yeah.
Probably still a Padawan. Yeah, like not fully immersed in it. So she's still available for molding, I guess you could say. And I think Maul's going to take advantage of that for sure.
Yeah. The other thing too is that potentially Devin will follow down the path that Darth Talon was going to in the George Lucas storyline of his sequels, where she became the apprentice of Maul, because Maul was going to be like the main villain of George Lucas's sequels 7, 8, and 9. So I could see this character, which sounds like she's already kind of on the fence of being like not following the Jedi way fully. And I think Maul is really going to manipulate her throughout this season to where we actually get to the point where she is fully his apprentice in a way, or or just by his side but not his apprentice. And I think something's going to happen in this show that will turn her over the edge. Maybe her master gets killed, maybe Maul manipulates her to thinking maybe the police force end up taking him out, but in reality it was Maul, but he made it look like it. So, and then it's just adding to what the higher up masters do. Like the Emperor made Vader think that he fully killed Padme, but in reality it was under natural circumstances. So, but he used that situation and twisted it. And I think Maul could definitely do that, because he's a character, when you see him on screen, for me anyway, even though he is gonna do something bad, like he is someone that you don't want to be successful, but you're also rooting for him. So I think I think Maul is gonna get up to more mischief in the show than what we saw, but he's gonna be low key about it.
I have a slightly different take.
Okay.
I don't think there's going to be any manipulation.
Oh, okay.
I think it's going to be because Maul, coming from a place of where he was very manipulated by his former master, I think he's going to come at it from a form of like peeling back the curtain. So I don't think he would be fully satisfied with having an apprentice who he like manipulated / tricked into being there. I think he wants her to fully believe in what he's saying. Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that.
I think so. So I think a little different. I think that's what he wants. I think he wants her to be like, he wants to kind of showcase all the hypocrisies and little things about the Jedi that maybe aren't 100% fleshed out. He's kind of like, here, I'm gonna pull back the curtain. I'm gonna show you what's really up with this galaxy. It ain't all puppy dogs and rainbows. Like that's what I think. So I don't think there's going to be like a manipulation aspect to that.
Okay.
I think it's going to be, I think he genuinely wants a follower, quote unquote, that is there because they want to be there.
Yeah, no, that's completely valid. Ted, how about you?
You could see that Devin is, she's young, she's impressionable, and you could already see her questioning authority, whether it's the police force there, how she talks to them. She has this wall up, she has her guard up, and I don't know if it's probably not spoilers, but a lot of either in the trailers or in the art that they've released for this film, you see her clash with a few of the individuals in Maul's gang. So I'm wondering how far she's willing to go down and follow. I think he's gonna make a very solid case for her. I like the idea that Maul would kind of try and use trickery or manipulation. And you already felt that, because he said it really early on in the first episode, I'm also here looking for someone in particular. And I think we're led to believe, I feel like there's no other way it's not her, Devin, that he's looking for. Unless that's going to be a twist later on. The fact that they just called that out, he's already looking for someone that's force sensitive, and he just so happens to run into her, whether it's the universe or the Force making this all happen.
Yeah.
I like the idea that this is somehow fate related. It's a yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's going to go down. Obviously, I don't think she'll be as tempted as previous Jedi we've seen in the past have been. But I'm really looking forward to see how they actually show us and her getting tempted by the dark side and what he's willing to kind of put her through. And then going back to kind of the score you talked about, there's multiple moments. I need to find out who this writer is for the music, because you'll hear like 3 or 4 notes from a theme from the prequels start off a new line in
Yeah.
this project. So it's really great that they're actually doing that. I think that happens a lot nowadays. If you want to reference an old project, something nostalgic, you'll put in 3 or 4 notes from a
Mhm.
melody you are very familiar with, and then write something new off of that. So
Yeah.
it works. It works. It's effective, and really enjoyed it.
Music is very, very powerful. And I think the way that the Kiners do that throughout their different projects shows a lot. And it adds more intense emotion in certain scenes. We have another listener, Mumbo Jimbo, says, I think Maul will kill her master, blame it on the Inquisitors, then she will ultimately still not join him. Yeah,
I like it.
I like that too. Just because Maul, to me, when we see him in Rebels, he is using his experience against Ezra's experience to manipulate him, because Ezra thinks that Maul is there to help all of them, but in reality, Maul is using the situation in Rebels when we first see him, and he's using that situation to kill Ahsoka and Kanan, and he really wants Ezra to be his new apprentice. And I'm really thinking that everything in the show is leading up to where we see him eventually. Also, there was a new trailer that dropped. It was like a teaser trailer, and one of the Sith Inquisitors is talking to someone where he says, "My Lord." My guess is that he's probably talking to Vader, so I definitely think that's happening. By the way, in the season finale, it would just be awesome to see Vader in action in this animation, because we've only seen him at the end of Clone Wars and then in Tales of the Empire of Vader in this animation. So seeing him in action, Vader against Maul would just be a dream come true, and I think fans would be.
Don't you think they're kind of leading into Sidious, though, that he's got a bigger beef with?
I don't think
Palpatine?
at this point. I really don't think at this point that
He's
Sidious-
already mentioned him once.
He did.
Yeah. So
And I am only bringing this up because I just saw this after I watched the show.
yeah,
Lucasfilm released like kind of a reflective trailer
Mhm.
where they showed like Maul and his history going all the way back. They even showed live action stuff. They put this whole montage together, and they showed him live action animation through the years, and they really focused on him getting beat down by Sidious like multiple times.
Yeah, in the Clone Wars, I don't think that they would do that again. And the only reason why I'm saying it is because through canon now, when the Sith Inquisitors fail, Vader normally is the one that steps in, because Vader is in charge of the Inquisitors. Palpatine put him in charge of it. Palpatine is not really hands-on for these situations. He is focused on the Death Star. He is focused on Project Stardust and Project Necromancer, because now he is in power, right? So now he's trying to secure his future by being immortal. That is his goal. That is his purpose now. And I don't think it's not that he's threatened by Maul. I think more of he just sees him as a pest at this point. And I think that if Palpatine ended up showing up, and this would kind of defeat the purpose of Vader's role, which is, Vader is the right hand of the Emperor at this point. Mara Jade ends up taking that position to Legends, later on in Return of the Jedi and stuff like that. And but I really think that Vader is the one. Vader makes the most sense to me. The Emperor showing up would just kind of be like, okay.
This is also a year after Revenge of the Sith, from what I read.
Yep.
So this could probably still be Vader's like sulking emo phase. Like he's not really doing a whole lot out there in the universe.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll see. It's interesting that they lean so heavily with Palpatine and all the other materials and the content.
Well, he is the one that like he's had the biggest connection to. I mean, Maul's introduction to the dark side was because of, a good old sheep Palpatine. So it makes sense that we lean into it. I think Palpatine will have an appearance in the show, but I think for fighting purposes, I think Vader is going to be the one that shows up. I could see maybe Maul talking to Palpatine in a hologram, and then Maul is expecting maybe him to show up, and then Palpatine, says something along the lines of, "Well, I have other plans," and then all of a sudden, boom! Here comes Vader, turns on his saber, and then is just the audience is just freaking out. So yeah, I think it's going to be absolutely insane. But I am banking on Vader being the person at the end of the finale. Also, I still think it's funny, and I've talked about this in past episodes, but the season finale episode is called Finale, and I really think that's a placeholder. I really think I'll name it a placeholder. But yeah, so and then kind of skipping ahead on Friday, by the way, we will do a full episode of where we talk about all the Easter eggs and everything. So yeah. I think that the end of this episode was great because we knew it wasn't going to be a cliffhanger just because, we have 2 episodes. This episode ends of where Maul is going, is where he's going into Devon's cell. And then we just leave it at that. And then we start the next episode right away. And my friend Hunter said this in an Instagram story, and I love this, and I would love this on a t-shirt one day, and pending potentially. The show is a glove shitto paradise. There are so many different aliens in the show already, and it's just fantastic, and I can't wait to see more. And there's so many Phantom Menace callbacks too, which would make sense because Maul came from the Phantom Menace. I love the whole Shadow Collective. I love how Crimson Dawn is still its own thing, and we know that Maul's gonna eventually take over Crimson Dawn. But I love how he wants revenge on all of the crime syndicates. We know he goes after the Pikes. We potentially he might go after the Black Sun as well. So yeah, I'm very, very excited to see where this ends up going for that. What did you think about the first episode overall before we start going into the second one?
I'm totally biased because these Dark Knight references kept hitting me in the face, and I would get more and more excited about it all. You just talked about the prison, the jailbreak scene, and what happens in the Dark Knight. One of the most famous scenes ever in comic book movies is the jail breakout for the Joker. So it's just another sort of slight, pull from the Dark Knight and reference to make this show kind of what it is. I really dug it. It's so much action. There's a bit of mystery still in there because it's Star Wars. You got to have some mystery in there, but it also plays a little bit like a police procedural. And I think Lawson is a very intriguing character. I like how they're also going into, his personal life. Like we see him with his kid. He's got this teenage kid. I guess he's in his marriage. I guess him and his wife are probably separated. Is what it kind of feels like. And he's got a lot of complexities about him. You know, he's out meeting this confidential informant. They may or may not have had relations after their conversation. So it's like, this is a complex character. I
Yeah.
think we're gonna see, and this is exactly why they chose movies like The Dark Knight and Heat specifically, because even the good guys have bad stuff about them, and then the bad guys had good stuff about them. So now you're seeing sort of the gray area with this detective, Lawson. And Maul, he is a bad guy. He's killed, he's murdered people. Like, we all know that. But right now, he's going after other bad guys. And so you kind of like him for doing that kind of thing. He's almost cleaning up the galaxy in a way. I mean, sure, he's going to, you know, consume all this power for himself in the end. But for the time being, like, he's kind of doing the good guys' job for them. And I don't know how they're gonna fill up 10 episodes of this, because he's already gone through like 2 syndicates, and he's already he's making quick work with these groups. That's all I'm saying. And
Yeah.
so yeah, they're gonna have to stretch this out a little bit more before
I
he
would love,
finishes them all.
I would love to see more of the Black Sun. And this has been a pipe dream. And the official Star Wars page actually commented on my comment years ago. But in Star Wars Rebels, there was an episode of where they had the ship called the Outrider. It was the same type of ship as the Outrider from Shadows of the Empire, where this character called Dash Rendar. I love Dash Rendar, and the Outrider is probably my favorite Star Wars ship to ever to exist. And we've seen it briefly in the special editions in live action. We've seen it in Star Wars Rebels. We've seen it in Star Wars in the newest Lego Star Wars game. So it's like, of that brand of ship is canon, but the character of Dash Rendar we haven't seen on screen yet. I would love to see Dash Rendar in the show somehow, some way. It's very early in the timeline, and he would be younger, but I think it would be really, really cool. I think that that character would fit perfectly into the show, because Shadows of the Empire has a lot of underworld aspects and themes, right? So this would be the perfect show for them to do that. And like of to have Dash show up, and maybe have like a small origin story in there, even though it's about Maul. I would love to see that, because I think Dash deserves screen time. He's such a cool character. He is very reminiscent of Han Solo. He actually is from Corellia as well, but I still think it would be really, really cool to have him. I'm surprised he didn't show up in the game Star Wars Outlaws. That also would have been the perfect place to introduce him into official canon. But going back to the comment that I was saying, was that the official Star Wars page, after I made this comment of saying, like, I love that we saw the ship, but I would love to see the character on screen one day. And they basically said, there's always hope, or something like that. So that to me indicated that, boom, they have it on their mind. They 100% have it on their mind, that they want to do something with this character. So I really hope that we get that in the near future. But yeah. So going to episode 2, we see them on the run. Maul puts well, actually, no, I'm jumping forward. We get that really cool scene that is very reminiscent of The Dark Knight. And then we have I'm just gonna say Jedi Master, just because I don't want to butcher the Jedi Master's name.
Master Dio, just call him Master Dio.
Master Dio, thank you. Master Dio pulls a Joker, and he like doesn't say, hit me, but he like has the same stance, and he uses the Force, and the vehicle like crashes, and his like character is really mysterious, and I really hope that we dive deep into of what happened during Order 66 and how they survived. I'm curious of what was going on with that, because one other character that I really wish that we dive deeper into of what was going on with Balin's skull during all that as well. during Order 66 and Ahsoka. So I just feel like there's so many Jedi that actually did survive, but we don't know exactly how they survived. So I really would love them to have maybe like a flashback episode of Devin and Dio of Order 66, them surviving and them being on the run. I would really love to see on how that happened. Even though it is probably one of the darkest moments in Star Wars. And I know that's crazy to say. I would love to see more of that. It's more of I want to see the backstory of how they got where they are now in the show. But yeah.
Order 66, it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, it's terrifying, but yeah.
I wouldn't mind doing that. I think if they do it too many times, then it'll get old quick. But if they could just reference, Master Dio being in a different place. A lot of Jedi were off world. They were on missions, they were scouting, doing other things.
Yeah.
So they probably had a fighting chance to like get away, hide, do that kind of thing. So if Dio was like off world and he was able to evade the troopers that he was commanding at the time, I would like that. I would rather see Balin at the temple. That would be amazing, especially because it's good old Rory from Game of Thrones who's going to be taking over as Balin. So I think I'd rather see Balin at the temple and not Master Dio. But you're right that he's a very mysterious character. Yes, that was another sort of pull from the Dark Knight, flipping the trailer in when the Joker was driving the 18-wheeler. That's what it felt like. And so another really cool reference. The showrunner that actually wrote this episode was is it Mick? Forgive me, I had it earlier. Matt Mikanovich.
Okay.
He's the one that wrote episode 1, and he wrote episode 2. And so he's a fantastic writer, and you can see the influences there. You can, the pacing of both these episodes is fantastic, and we're getting the backstory of all these characters. And it's, later in this episode, we're actually going to see Master Dio, really try and reach out to Detective Lawson. So you can kind of see already that allies, surprising individuals might need to ally with one another in order to combat the forces that are, coming together. So a future buddy cop, a few episodes between Master Dio and Detective Lawson, I'm sure.
Someone also brought up a interesting point, which there's a line from the first episode that that I wanted to talk about super quick, where JT_beans on Instagram said, "Why does the lead cop call lightsabers laser swords?" So that is not the first time that we heard the word laser swords in Star Wars. George Lucas actually used to call lightsabers laser swords too, but in the sequels, Last Jedi, Luke actually has a line of where he's talking to Rey, and he's like, "What? Did you expect me to take out my laser sword and take out the whole First Order on my own?" So the term laser swords is not new. I think that we're in a different place of the galaxy. Not everyone, likes to use the term lightsaber. I mean, you also have Lando calling Han. So it's not like we're strangers to hearing people say different words that actually mean something else. So I'm not really looking into it, but George Lucas actually did used to call lightsabers laser swords all the time. So
yeah. And I think the comment is stating, how did you not know about lightsabers, right? Well, he also didn't know about Maul, right?
Yeah.
So it's like not everybody in every planet in the galaxy is aware of what's happening. something
Mhm.
that was beaten over the head with us in episode 8 was that like nobody cares. There's a
Yeah.
lot of people that just don't even care what's going on.
Yeah.
So this is probably one of those things. If you're a lead detective on a planet that has as much going on with it, like multiple crime organizations just running rampant, you got enough on your hands to worry about, battles between the Sith and the Jedi on other planets. So it's probably just his hands are full. He's not really privy to everything that's going on, and he probably also doesn't know a lot about the Jedi either. If he doesn't know about Maul, he probably knows even less about the Jedi, and Master Dia will be the one to sort of get him and the audience caught up
Yep.
on what's been going on with the Jedi.
Yeah. I think so too. And he even goes to his contact and he's like, what can you tell me about this? And then, she's like, have you ever heard of the Shadow Collective? And they dive deeper into that. And I love how also this show is not giving you like 100% like, like of what they would do during the Clone Wars, being like, a galaxy divided and a galaxy far, far away. Like, they're not giving you like a full recap, but it's part of the plot of where they're like, hey, have you ever heard of the Shadow Collective? This is what Maul did during the Clone Wars, of where he became in charge of the Pikes and charted and in charge of Black Sun, and it was like a throwback to of what happened in the Clone Wars. But it wasn't like a in your face backstory. Like, it made sense in the scene for them to explain that, because there are sometimes in games and movies of where they give you like a full backstory that's happening in a scene and it doesn't make sense to have it in there. This was one of those moments where it fit in perfectly of why they needed to explain something that happened in the past. Just for some people, for example, our mutual friend David, he hasn't watched the Clone Wars all the way through. I don't know if you knew that. Uh, so of these parts, of when they do things like that, of these lines, I think it's the perfect opportunity to do that, because it shows, it's telling the audience something in a larger perspective, but in a perfect way where it's not feeling like it's taking you out of the story. I really hope I explained that right, but yeah. So yeah, I totally got lost of where I was going with that, but yeah. We have
Shares in the
another.
chat saying she's loving Spybot, reminds her of Chopper.
Yep.
I also too think that Spybot's great. Also, I'm becoming a quick fan of Two Boots.
Yes.
It's just a kind of random name that he's called Two Boots, but like Two Boots is a very dependable droid and police partner. Like,
Yeah.
it's interesting that he's sort of trusted as much as he is by Detective Lawson. You kind of feel that same camaraderie and trust between like Han and Chewie. Han went to Chewie for
Yeah.
everything. Chewie, this, that, directives, all this kind of things. And Lawson, like every 5 minutes, Two Boots, get this. Two Boots, open the doors. Two Boots, get control of the security systems. I actually really dig what they're doing with Two Boots, who's voiced by Richard Ayoade, and it's fantastic.
He
Big fan of
he
Two Boots.
kind of reminds me of K2SO, like just a tiny bit, because he is a Woody droid. There's also L3, that was the droid of Lando, and I love that all these droids in a way are inspired by Anthony Daniels' performance as C3PO, and I love that. And I love how each droid has their own personality, their own voice, and seriously, it really is because of what Anthony Daniels did with the character of C3PO. So I love that the tradition of droids with a personality has become a thing, like even more over the years. So I love that. But yeah, so we we get to another scene too where Maul is talking to where he's talking to Devin, and she is asking him to let her out, and he's like, you can leave anytime. And I knew right away that he was testing her in some way. And we know what the test was at the end, where she ends up using the Force to get out of the cell. Now, the question is, in the next episode, is she actually going to try and escape, or is she going to toy with the idea of maybe Maul and her can actually be allies? Like, what is the next step after this? Also, this episode ended abruptly, and I didn't like that. I didn't like how I was like, okay, what's gonna happen in the next scene, and then boom. So I like hated that happen, but I loved it as well because I'm hooked as an audience member, and that's what you want. You want each episode to feel like, you know, you have to anticipate what's gonna happen next. I love that. I love it, but I hate it. So yeah, no, yeah, this is such a great show, and I love all the underworld references. We saw the Pikes again. We know there's probably going to be some type of war coming up. We also got like a foreshadow of the Empire coming, because Two Boots kept saying we should call the Empire. Why aren't we calling the Empire? Like, come on, man, call the Empire. So we know the Empire is coming because of the trailers and stuff, and we know the Sith Inquisitors are coming. But yeah, no, the show was written so well. The music is great, the sound is great, the cast is great, everything's just great. You know, I love that they got 100% Rotten Tomatoes. That just this makes me so happy. And this is such a great show to start off the year of just to start off the Star Wars season, because no joke, next month is the Mandalorian and Grogu. How crazy is that, by the way?
Love it.
Yeah. We also got another comment from Sherry saying it seemed like the second episode went so fast, so I was taken back with that abrupt ending. Yeah. Yep. I'm with you. I think most of us are with you. But again, I'm glad that they did that, because, you know, it's making us want more. So we have to wait a week, and I hate that, but I love it.
It's all good. It's going to give us time to really appreciate all of the bold decisions and choices they're making with this series. And also, you can't say enough about Sam Witwer, who I've been, watching him as Maul in past animation projects. But like, for some reason, it just feels like he's really tapped into the direct essence of Maul on this one. He's not playing Maul in this one. He is Maul in this one. Just all the inflections, all the choices he's making with his voice. Like, Maul is not a straightforward character for a voice actor to play. You really have to choose when and where your inflections are, your cadences. Like, you have a lot of leeway with it, where you can really mold this character and how he speaks to people. And so Whitwer's doing a fantastic job with everything that he's being asked to do. And also, Whitwer's going out of his way to make this show what it is, because you read the interviews or watch the interviews with the producers. Whitwer is staying after his recording sessions are over. He'll come in early. He'll work with other cast members. He'll get into conversations with the producers. Like, he's really going out of his way to make everything work. And he's kind of getting involved with a lot of different people around this project. So you just got to love a guy that's as passionate and taking that much effort and putting in that much work for this show.
That is why it is so important to me to have fans have that interaction with the franchise. And I think it's because Sam Witwer is a big fan of Star Wars. He's a big fan. And it sounds like the entire team of Maul Shadow Lord is. There have been other projects where some of the people going in were not big Star Wars fans, or just not, fans in general, sounded like. And you could see how that affected the project slightly. And with this, they understood the assignment. They 100% understood the assignment. And I think that is why the show is being praised, because they know what the fans want, because they are fans. And I think that's what really, really sets this aside from some of the other projects. And I think the great other thing about, all these different Star Wars shows is that every fan has a different perspective on what Star Wars means to them. And that reflects on every project that's ever been made of Star Wars. You have everything that George Lucas did. You had everything that Dave Filoni did. And then you have, Deborah Chow. You have Jon Favreau. You have, this huge collection, Gareth Edwards, of directors that have done different projects. So it's just, with this in particular, Sam Witwer from the very, very get-go, I think understood exactly what these characters were doing and thinking, and that reflects on his fandom into the show. And I think you really, really see that. So I'm beyond excited to see where the rest of the show goes. On Friday, we'll be doing a Easter eggs episode. I'm going to be doing fun facts about Maul Shadow Lord all week. Go to my Instagram at Blue Harvest. No E in the best part, but yeah. So, but yeah, that's our breakdown of episode 1 and 2. Do you have anything else to comment on?
Yeah, so Select Media got a chance to catch the majority of the first season. They were only allowed to watch through episode 8, which seems like a lot, but it's also always intriguing when a studio keeps certain episodes away from the mainstream media. So expect episode 9 for stuff to really hit the fan, or for something major to happen. So if you're questioning whether or not you should stick around, if it's not for you, wait until episode 9, because that's when something major is going to happen, and it could have major ramifications across the Star Wars universe, depending on how bold they want to stay with this story. But so far, I'm loving it. Not only is it great to see Sam again back as Maul, but just bringing all the major players in Star Wars voice acting, Vanessa Marshall, D. Bradley Baker, like a lot of them are here. So you're getting a high quality project from the get-go. But the fact that there's so much action in this series, that you're actually witnessing a lot of things you haven't seen before in the series, and that they're sort of leaning and really focusing in on the local police officers on this planet, which, like, do they really ever do that? Like, if you're not in the Empire, if you're not with the rebels, are they really ever like giving people any time? But the fact that they're finally like showcasing this law enforcement and this officer and digging into his history and his personal life, it's actually fascinating for me to see that. Again, something new in Star Wars, which out of the thousands of episodes of TV content and the dozens of movies, like, it's really hard to do something new in Star Wars. And if you do something too new, the fans will turn on you. So hopefully they can keep riding that fine line on giving us stuff that's new and exciting and intriguing, and keep just focusing on their inspirations, and keeping that same tone throughout this series, because for right now it works. And to maintain, it's going to be the challenging part, is to make sure that you never go too far into too dark or too comic booky or anything like that. Like, stay with this grounded sort of noir tone throughout, and I think they're gonna win a lot of fans over with that.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And also about the finale, drops on May 4th, which I treat like Christmas, by the way. So that's just going to be a treat. of just a great way to kick off May too, because May is just going to be. I always consider May Star Wars months, but yeah. So, yeah, that's it for this week. I mean, not this week. For this episode, I woke up very early and I only slept a couple hours. Then I did this episode, so my mind's all over the place, but in a good way. I'm going to be at Kalamazoo Comic-Con this weekend. There's a couple of Star Wars guests there. I'll be doing some different interviews over there. So if you're in the area, go and check that out. And if you see me, come say hi. But yeah, there you go. Also on Tuesday, they will be doing a full deep dive as well on the Virtual Cantina Network of this episode. Of these 2 episodes. So go and check that out because there is a lot to dive deep into. And then for Countdown, Ted, what's going on with Countdown these next couple of weeks?
We are dropping a lot of interviews. We've been in a lot of local conventions and some national conventions. And so we're dropping a lot of interviews this week. We're also, we're going to be talking a little bit about Maul. This is a busy week in just geek culture because you had Maul today. Tomorrow you have, I think, Daredevil's back with a new episode. And then Wednesday you have The Boys making their premiere for their final season, which everybody's stoked about that. The Boys are also going to have majority of their cast in San Antonio in 2 months at SpaceCon, which is one of the largest, best run conventions in the country. A lot of Star Trek guests, a handful of Star Wars guests. Hayden Christensen's going to be there. Ian McDermott's going to be there. Jimmy Smith is going to be there. And then also, like I mentioned, like 5 or 6 cast members from The Boys are going to be in attendance. So definitely look up SpaceCon San Antonio. Check out the interviews that dropped this week, including Colin's interview with Master Chief himself, Steve Downs.
That was awesome.
The more I read about Steve, the more I just love the guy.
25 years. He's played that character
insane.
for 25 years, dude.
And I like you thought, okay, so they're redoing Combat Evolved.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be any different. There's no way they can capture the magic or really add anything to what you and I experienced growing up. Steve said, "No, stop right there.
Yeah.
This is not a remaster. It's a complete overhaul of the game. You're not gonna know what's coming when you see what we've done." And I'm like, "Oh, cool."
Yeah,
that
I
really
love how he
changed my
talked about
entire
that too.
perspective. Yeah.
I was not expecting him to actually talk about that, because when like people have certain projects that they're currently working on, like there's so much he can say, but he was like, "Oh, I'm more than happy to," and he just started talking about it, and I was like, "Oh, great, okay." So yeah, no, he's such an incredible guy. And then we also had an interview with Sarah from Mos Eisley. That was really cool. And then we also talked to this incredible human being, McGonagall. He had a huge roster of different Star Wars characters that he played in the 2003 micro series, including General Grievous before he has the cough, and before he turns into Matthew Wood. I guess that's the best way to describe it, because Matthew Wood and McGonagall have very different voices for Grievous, and the way that McGonagall was voicing Grievous in this was really cool, because it was before he had the cough, and you actually get the origin of how he gets the cough in the second part of this, because in the micro series of 2003, it leads into the events of Revenge of the Sith directly. It's no longer canon, but Mace Windu actually he kind of force crushes a lung of Grievous, and that's what gives him the cough and his raspy voice. That was the old origin of how that happened, but they completely rewrote that when they did the Dave Filoni Clone Wars. But yeah, so that was super cool to talk to him at C2E2.
Yeah, man. So that's all that's going on for us. Just a busy week in TV shows, and probably drop some movie reviews. I
Mhm.
just dropped. This will be real quick. I just dropped my movie review for Pizza Movie,
Yeah.
which is not on everybody's radar. Pizza Movie is this new stoner comedy, and it's sort of directed at like Gen Z, but it's for everyone. Not saying all ages. It's for like all generations. This is a generational type comedy that once in every like 10 years you get like a generational comedy that really like fits the culture, and it's just so clever and it's so witty. Pizza Movie is that movie for the next 10 years. Like it's going to have lasting power, and it is so good. It's so funny. It's an absolute riot. So it's on Hulu right now. I so wish they had a theatrical release for this one because I saw it in the theater and it was the best experience. I went in completely
Okay.
blind and was blown away. So Pizza Movie, if anybody wants to like have a really good time watching a new stoner comedy, do not watch it with the kids. Go check out Pizza Movie
All right. Okay. All right. It's on Hulu.
on Hulu.
Okay. All right. I will definitely check that out. Well, uh, Brooke left because Hayden woke up from his nap, but we'll be on our episode on
That is.
Friday. And I believe Spencer actually is going to be our guest on Friday, so we're excited about that. But yeah, so stay tuned. Get just gear up for a fun month of Maul, and thanks for joining us today, Ted. Thank you so much for hopping on. May the force be with you forever and always.